So welcome everyone. The presentation is about to begin. This session will be recorded and will last 60 minutes. Please keep your mic muted during the presentation and turn off web cameras. If you have a question or comment, enter it into the chat during the presentation and the presenter will address your question at the end. All participants in today's event will have access to the recorded version, which will be available within 1 week after the live event. TESOL International Association's Higher Education Interest section is pleased to present this webinar titled Pedagogy Potluck, a Show and Tell. And our speaker is Deanie Good, and we are very pleased to welcome all of you to this webinar. My name is Maria Amar, and I will be your moderator for today's event. And now it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Deanie Good.
Hi. We don't have anybody else in the waiting room right now?
Oh yes, there is one person. Oh, two people.
Hey everybody, so Maria just did our little introduction. I'm going to go ahead and start share the PowerPoint. Let's see. So first of all, I will start by doing one additional thing too. So I'm going to be using a PowerPoint slides to present to you, but this is also on a Google slide that I am going to make shareable in the chat. And I'll share it several times because I know that we still have people coming in. And the reason I'm sharing this link is because this link is accessible to you. You can you can edit this link. So if you have anything you want to add or want to share, or if you want to share and we run out of time, you can add to the Google Slides, and we will all have access to everybody's ideas. So I'm going to start with just a little introduction. So my name is Deanie, and I am the co-chair-elect for the higher education section of TESOL International, or sorry, one of two co-chair-elects. My partner is not here today, but she will be next month. The higher education interest section advances effective English language instruction, promotes professional standards and practices, influences and supports policies of TESOL and other associations, determines needs in the field, initiates projects to meet such needs, and considers all other matters relevant to ESL in higher education. These discussions intend to engage in meaningful, critical discussions on a range of topics relevant to English language programs and post-secondary settings based on an article, summary, or the other forms of text. From each participant's take turns, or I think I messed up there. Okay, so okay, so the discussion guidelines are we're going to use the 4 C's. It's going to be a show and tell, but there'll be a little bit of discussion. So when there's discussion, we'll use the 4 C's. And the 4 C's are collaborative, creative, critical, and caring. And you may be asked to say more at some point in the discussion. Collaborative means this is not a lecture or a presentation so much as this is a discussion, and we're going to present together and think together. So this is collaborative. Creative means that we can explore hypotheticals. So we can, after somebody has presented their idea, we could talk about maybe other ideas that we could use this idea for a couple of minutes after the person has presented. Critical means that we give reasons and evidence for our thoughts and ideas, just like we would expect from our students. And caring means that we listen without interrupting, and means that we give reasons and evidence why you agree or disagree with other attendees, just like we would expect from our students. Let's see, next slide. So to make it easier, if you would like to comment or present, please use the raise your hand in the reaction section. It allows us to see who was first and call the people in order. So hopefully everybody gets a chance. Again, if everybody doesn't get a chance, the link to the slideshow, to the Google Slides, is in the chat. And I will make sure, and so you can add to that. You are able to edit it. Anybody with the link can edit it, so you don't have to, so you won't be left out, and everybody still gets to benefit from your ideas. So also this discussion is being recorded for future viewing. As Maria said before, a recording of this discussion will be available in about a week for everybody. Today's discussion is a show and tell of online teaching and assessment methods that work for you. Again, the link to the slideshow is in the chat. I encourage all of you to add your ideas to the slideshow, and I will try to get to everyone who wants to share, but if we run out of time, we will still have access to the link, or links can be shared for access to all who care to look at it or add to it now and in the future. Let's see, what do I got here? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. I have a couple of ideas that I will share, and then we can all, and then whoever wants to go after me can go. So I will share with you my first idea. Oh no, it did not copy my video. That's okay, because I have backup here. Let's see, go here and go back to here. Okay, so here is, let's see if I, let's see, present. So I'm going to go ahead. So this is an idea from my friend Dan Fitzgerald, and he so I use this. So this is for Google. This is for Google Slides. We're going to watch this video. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. It's a 5-minute video, but it's easily understandable at about 25% faster. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the subtitles. It's not going to let me. There we go. Well, I can at least make it go faster, but I really wanted the subtitles. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you. It's full of good ideas. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. That's the next one. Present. Okay, so that was my colleague, Dan Fitzgerald. So Dan has a channel on YouTube called Teacher Dan's Videos, if you're interested in more of his ideas. This, as you can see, at least for me, solves the problem of not being able to walk around and see if students are understanding, and be able to give them live feedback in real time. I often just, copy textbook exercises into the slides. Does anybody have any questions about this, or any comments or any feedback about this particular idea? Okay, then I will go to my next idea. My next idea, or is another video that we're also, but we're not going to watch it. And I will put that link in the chat again. So stop, escape, not what I wanted. Okay, stop share. I'm gonna go back here. Oh, now it shows up. Okay, I'll share that. Okay, so one of the things that was asked about last time was free teacher training, which this can work for that. It can work for an asynchronous etiquette exercise. It can work as, it's not going to show it to me again. It can work as as if you have body language as part of your speaking and listening outcomes. I will try to give you a better picture of this. I will share this instead again. So again, we're not going to watch this particular video, but you can watch the video because you have the link, and you'll have the link in the chat. But what I will show you, because this is about an hour long, she goes over physical in-person body language for the first half, and then transitions over to virtual body language in the second half. So but I will show you some clips of like what she shows. No, I don't want to play it. Okay, so here are some examples of things that she talks about, what it looks like when you're too close, and the impressions that it gives when you're too close, and what it should look like. So what you should be able to see your head and shoulders and face and arms, and I can't get far enough back from my computer and still reach my keys to be able to do that right now. But here's Chris Hemsworth and Jimmy Kimmel down here a little bit, kind of showing about how you should look on your screen to be presentable in a way that that people feel like they can communicate with you. So it's good training for teachers. It's good training for students. It's good training for, you can use it for outcomes. You can use it for asynchronous etiquette. Come on. Back. Okay, so she talks about hand gestures. So here's Matthew McConaughey and his various hand gestures that he does during an interview. And hand gestures are really important. All the people who told you to stop talking with your hands were wrong. Fun fact is that most popular TED Talkers have about 465 hand gestures in them. They're actually really important for showing people that you're friendly and keeping their attention. 75 to 90% of communication is body language and not verbal language. So being able to talk with our hands is important. And especially and this is important in person as it is in front of our camera. And then of course, she talks about, what scared looks like, what confident looks like, and the different kinds of hand gestures you should go for. And another thing she talks about is eye contact. So eye contact, we talk about this, of course, in class a lot, being able to make eye contact with your audience and how important it is. So it's just as important to do that online. So she gives notes on how to make sure you're giving eye contact online as well as in person. So she talks about the camera and putting a sticky note above it so you remember to look at it. Take a picture of someone and talk to them. So if the sticky note doesn't do it for you, you can stick a picture of somebody up there that you like. You can move the thumbnail. So you guys are on Zoom a lot, so you know what the thumbnail is. So I have done that right now. You can't tell, but I've moved the thumbnail up underneath my camera so it appears that I'm looking at you, because otherwise if you were over here, I'd be looking over here. If you were over on this side of my screen where Zoom likes to put you, I would appear to be looking over there instead of at you. And then also to raise your camera to eye level by placing books and things like that under your laptop to make sure that you're eye level with your camera, which I have done today. She also mentions having something to put your elbows on, so your hands and shoulders are more visible to your audience. So I'm going to look at my notes, make sure I didn't forget to tell you anything there. Yeah, no, I think that I wanted to share with you that, when we first started teaching online, I was teaching advanced speaking and listening, where body language was an outcome. And while I had taught it for a few years and I knew how I wanted to teach body language in person, I was lost as to what to tell people to do in the virtual world. And so that kind of went by the wayside until I found Kristen Bach, so the person who does this series of lectures on body language and an online presentation. Her name is Kristen Bach. And she does a really great job. She does little mini shows on YouTube Live and stuff like that, and Facebook Live. And if you find her, she will friend you. It's CRISTENBOCK. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Again, as I mentioned, it could be good for teacher training or student etiquette, or teaching body language outcomes, or it can be used asynchronously to teach online etiquette. Maria, is anybody else in the waiting room?
No, nobody's in the waiting room.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, so does anyone have anything that they would like to share? I'm gonna put that, I'm gonna put the link to the, because this is supposed to be for all of us. Put that link to the slideshow in the chat again. Let's see. Copy the link. Back to Zoom to you guys. So here in the chat is the link. to that if you want to do more. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share? Okay, well, I am prepared to share at least one more thing. So a good organization that leads good online discussions is called Grey Havens Philosophy. .org. You can find them at greyhavensgroup.org, or you can find them at Grey Havens Philosophy on Facebook and Twitter, or Eventbrite. And this is a great place for it's a lot of fun for native speakers, but it's also a safe place for anybody who is learning language to practice their English. I'll share some of the things, like I'll share like their events. It's easiest on their Facebook page. So let me share that with you. So this is the Facebook page for Grey Havens Philosophy. They have a lot of discussions every week. Every Wednesday, they have current events. Every Friday, they have something fun like science fiction, philosophy. On weekends, they have things for kids online. They have Books and Big Ideas, which is doing philosophy with 6-year-olds. It's a lot of fun. It's not like Kant or Sophocles. It's just books, kids' books, and talking about the philosophy of them. Harry Potter's discussion for kids and teens. Though I know this is for college level kids, so not those two probably. But on Friday mornings, there's morning chats on philosophical discussions. Last week they did one on food and philosophy and how it has to do with culture. They have philosophy and science fiction. They have girls and women's philosophy cafe. They have an anime for adults. Discussion. They also do like random in philosophy. So I think it's like school and education is the one they're doing this month, and random fandom, which I believe this month is Mr. Robot. So these are all the different kinds of things that fun topics that are used as texts to facilitate philosophical conversations, and philosophical conversations are naturally critical thinking exercises. They use the same rules basically as I use for these discussions. So if we go back to my slide, they use the 4 C's: the collaborative, the creative, the critical, and the caring. So it fosters listening without interrupting. It fosters agreeing and disagreeing while giving reasons and evidence why. If they may be asked to say more if they don't tell why. And it's just really, and I know that in many not just speaking classes, but in writing classes, critical thinking is basically the goal, and we do that in terms of asking them to agree and give reasons, or disagree and give reasons why, and to give evidence. So this is a great practice for anybody, for any class who needs to work on critical thinking skills. or has the outcomes of agreeing and disagreeing, or showing evidence. And it's a fun way to do it. What have you guys done over that's been successful online? Or for assessment, lots of people wanted to know about assessment. Has anybody had any success they want to share? Okay. Hi, Jolanta. So Jolanta, just to catch you up, we have talked about a way to use Google Slides for group work, and to use it to give real-time feedback to students doing group work online together. We have talked about a video on oh, okay, I see people in the chat. Okay, Julie says okay, so her teachers have been using quizzes and Canvas. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Julie. Julie has to go. So somebody talked about doing formative quizzes in LMSs or Canvas or Blackboard in our previous discussion, and I think that's a great idea to do formative quizzes. They get all the time they want. They can take it as many times as they need to get the correct answers. I think that is a great idea. Does anybody have anything else that they've done that they'd like to share? Does anybody here use Flipgrid? Feel free to type in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable speaking, you can type in the chat. Okay, well, let's talk about Flipgrid then, because maybe some of you don't use Flipgrid. Beatrice, were you going to say something?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm sorry for not sharing my camera. It's very cold and I'm completely wrapped up. Sorry for that.
No, that's 100% okay.
Yes, I have used Flipgrid and I really like it. There are many ways I use it. Like, for example, I ask my students to record a short video introducing themselves at the beginning of the term. And then I asked the classmates to watch the videos and then, to respond to them. And then the idea is that they would have a kind of conversation, using videos. So, oh, I saw your video and this is what we have in common. And then the other person will try to respond. Another thing that I've done, and it was really funny because I had to do it myself and I'm not a fan of videos, is that my students for level 1, they had to practice this conversation at the restaurant. And usually when we were in the classroom, I would have like 2 or 3 students. One of them would be the server, the other would be the customers. So Flipgrid gave me the opportunity to perform the 2 roles all by myself. So I recorded me as being the customer, then I stopped it, and then I changed my clothes, and then I was the server, and I performed the 2 roles in the conversation. It was funny, and I thought it was going to be an interesting practice for my students because we are working online, and they did it much better. They surprised me. There was this boy that he was the person. What's the name of the person that opens the door for you and takes you to the table? I forgot the word.
Like the host or the hostess?
Yes, somebody like that. And then he was the server, and then he was also the chef because the food was so good, and he wanted to say congratulations to the chef. So they did much better things that I did. They really surprised me. So also the how-to videos with a more advanced level, I asked them to, since they were at home, you know, something that they could record themselves doing. And there was, I learned a lot of cup muffins that I didn't know it was possible, healthy cookies, yoga exercises, put on makeup. So they showed me lots of beautiful things. I really, really like Flipgrid, and I think it's very helpful to, you know, to practice a little bit of speaking, listening, and to let the students be creative. Of course, you have to plan the activities carefully, but it's a good possibility. Even for vocabulary, one thing that I do is I recorded my apartment. Of course, they had to have permissions from their parents, or if they were adults, they have to have permission from their roommates or whatever. And I said, okay, this is level 1. So this is my desk, this is my keyboard, this is my cat, this is the dish of my cat. And it's just that, and the students loved it. Some of them said, no, I don't want to show you where I live, and it was okay. But majority of them, they had no problem. Or somebody said, oh, I'm just going to show you the living room because my bedroom is a mess. So just that. I'm sorry, I've been speaking too much.
Oh, no, you're not speaking too much at all. It's perfect, Beatrice. Thank you.
To you, thank you so much.
So I also like to use Flipgrid, and so you started off talking about like introductions and things like that. And I don't necessarily do this with level 1. I do this with more advanced classes because I feel like these are more advanced questions. So one of the things, and I can bring it up real quick because I didn't intend to share this today, but I have no problem sharing it. I just have to bring it up. Because you jogged my memory, Beatrice. Thank you for that. Let's see. Where is, okay, so I do a thing. Now in person, I call this speed getting to know you. It's not so speedy. It's not as speedy in, say, on Flipgrid, because now that we're online, I can do it in Flipgrid, and it's not and it's asynchronous on Flipgrid. It's not synchronous in Flipgrid. So I do something called speed getting to know you. Again, this can be done on Flipgrid, and in class, I do this by lining desks up face to face. With the people on the left side and people on the right side. And I kind of do it like speed dating, except it's speed getting to know you. It's great for icebreakers. It's great for, in my opinion, doing, and when you have to give a persuasive speech or have to write a persuasive essay, you need to know your audience. So I do this as a way of getting to, for them to get to know each other and to be able to persuade each other, to know a little better what persuades each other. So let me share this with you. Let me do a little custom. This is what I want to do. So I can do this, and I can pick it up from beginning. So I present this sometimes at, I've presented this as at mid-TESOL before. Let me share it with you. And again, I call this speed getting to know you. So the instructions are you have about 1.5 minutes to tell your partner the answer. And when the bell rings, you have to change seats. So I'll choose the left side or the right side, and they have to change seats, and the one on the end has to go down to the end. So you end up talking to everybody in your class, not just a few people. After we've been on one side, I'll switch and make the people on the other side switch around. So the first question is, given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? The second question is, would you like to be famous? If no, why not? If yes, in what way? And what would you like to be famous for? The question 3 is, describe your perfect day. Question 4 is, when did you last sing to yourself or someone else? Question 5 is, if you were able to to live to the age of 90 and keep either the mind of a 30-year-old or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want? Question 6 is, if you could wake up tomorrow with any skill, what would it be? Question 7 is, if you could know anything about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would it be? And question 8 is there something you've dreamed about for a long time? Why haven't you done it? 9, in 4 minutes, tell your partner your life story as much detail as possible, and then stop. And then they turn around in front and face the front of the class. We put the desks back, or in the next Flipgrid, it would be the Flipgrid the next day. It would be, now name 3 things you appear to have in common with your classmates, and what is the same about you and your classmates. So these questions actually, those are just 10 questions. And of course, in a 60-minute class, that's about all I had time for. You could do more. These questions come from a New York Times article called, and I'll bring it up and I'll show it to you real quick. Let's see. Called 37 questions to fall in love. Or 36 questions that lead to love. So I can share that too. So here's the original article. It's based on a study by psychologist Arthur Aaron. Now, I didn't do this because I wanted my students to fall in love. I did it because I wanted interesting questions. The surprising thing that happened. So according to this article, if you ask these questions of anybody, then the only question left will be, what date are you going to get married? Which I always thought was kind of silly. But the interesting thing that happened after the first time I did this was, at the end of the class, students were asking me to take pictures of them together. They were asking me to, they were asking each other for their phone numbers. They were, and then in these pictures, they had their arms around each other, and they were all getting together and talking about, when they were going to see each other again. And it was really interesting. And so, persuasive paper usually comes at the very end of the semester, and it left me thinking I should have done at the beginning of the semester, because it really seemed to create a cohesive bond between classmates, and people made friends, and it was kind of amazing. But I've since done it on Flipgrid, and I don't know if it has quite the same effect on Flipgrid, because I don't get to see the relationships get built afterwards, but it certainly happened in the classroom. Beatrice, I saw you take yourself off mute.
Yeah, I think it is beautiful, and it's really interesting. I was just thinking, it doesn't happen in Flipgrid because although that you're having this conversation and you learn something about your classmates, you cannot create this bond. But what I have done online is like, I give the questions to the students, and then I put them into breakout rooms in person. I give them time to talk, and then I change the teams, and I said, okay, talk to somebody else. If I give them only 3 or 4 questions, then I would do that. But if I give them like a long list of questions, like 10 or 12, and that they would like really to talk about it, which has happened to me. Like, okay, like stay with that person and talk to them. It's possible to do that with the breakout rooms. And it is a great idea if you repeat the activity several times during the terms. It's going to have, you know, more opportunities for them to talk to each other. I also ask them to say to choose who they would like to talk to, and usually say, okay, a person that you don't know very well, and that really pays off. But yeah, it's not the same when you are in classroom, you know, face to face, and they can hug and all that stuff. But it has helped me a lot, especially when I teach intensive courses, summer or winter. At the university I work at, winter courses are very long, because we have to you know, to cover in 1 month everything that you are supposed to do over a term. So we have classes from, for example, 8:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. Now these activities are very helpful. Like, you can see the closeness of the students, even online. It's much more difficult when you have them like for 5 months. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's, you know, we're just trying to, you know, part of our goal here in these discussions that we're having over the summer is to, you know, make this hybrid teaching that they're having us do, are going to have us do, or everybody's talking about doing now, a little easier. And how we can, and what we've, you know, this was to talk about like our successes that we've had over, just to share them with each other, because a lot of people were really hungry last time for teaching methods that worked, and online assessment methods that worked, and like teacher training and things like that. That's what they really wanted last time. And thank you for your contribution, Beatrice. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting. I'll try to do that speed date in Zoom. Yeah.
I did try it in breakout rooms too. What the difference between breakout rooms is that you know, when I'm in class, I can kind of, if there's an odd number, I can join in and I can hear what's going on around, or I can walk around and hear the stories people are telling. The difficulty comes to at the end when you're trying to get them to talk about what they have in common. And they tend to, even in person at the beginning, want to say, oh, well, I still don't have anything in common with anybody. I'm different than all of these people. But then I can bring up, you know, things that I've heard that I heard that were the same for other people. And so they can't do that in the breakout rooms because I can't be everywhere at once. So that's another downfall of that.
It's a big disadvantage, yes. And also, if you're trying to visit the breakout rooms, like, it takes a while. Mm-hmm. But something that I tried for the very first time last semester was asking my students to monitor their classmates. So I created groups of 3, and then one person had to be like the observer. He or she could participate if he wanted to, but that he or she was like taking notes. And then I moved them, but then I asked my observers, what have you noticed? And were you part of the conversation or not? And sometimes, well, they don't participate, they just listen and observe. But other times, they definitely become part of the conversation and when you have a person observing and taking notes, and even the person can help the others, I think you don't say it that way, or maybe we should ask Beatrix for some help or something. And if you are not actively participating, it's kind of having a helper in the room. It's not the same, but it has helped me, and I'll try to do it again this term, this winter course. Let's see how it works.
Well, I think that's a great idea, Beatrice. I think, because often this is a speaking practice. And I think it's great to have somebody, actively listening and taking notes. I think that that's really important. I think that's a great idea, to have an observer taking notes.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Thanks.
No, thank you. Let's see, what else could I add? I thought your idea about the conversation with the restaurant was really interesting. I did something similar in a class one time. It was a split level class one time, and I think it's interesting, and probably even better doing it on a Flipgrid, because they get to slow down and think about their answer. I think that's amazing. I often have students record in their apartments real time, especially for grammar. And you were talking about, this is my cat, this is, I have them, demonstrate the difference between this, that, these, those, with their cameras in their homes, using things that they own. Because, the whole near and far, singular, plural aspect. I have them demonstrate things like prepositions. I make them use like things that they own to demonstrate in and on, and inside, outside. I don't know why all the prepositions are escaping my head at the moment.
Don't worry, it happens.
And then, I also, have them do descriptive adjectives that way. And I have them do this all on Flipgrid too. Use descriptive adjectives to describe something in their homes too.
That's nice. And one thing that I feel students enjoy is that if they can do and redo the video, record it once and again, and so they feel comfortable with the product. I think that is very helpful. Also, the repetition is very helpful. And something interesting that we did last term was with advanced students to share pieces of culture of the different regions where we live in, because we are having these online classes. Some of my students went back to their cities. So I have students from all over Bolivia attending my classes, which is quite new to me. I'm not accustomed to that because, face to face, you have all the students in the classroom and stuff. Not always you learn where they come from. But now I said, okay, we are going to share videos like what is the traditional food from the place where you come from, and then they had to cook it in front of the video, and that was really nice because the students said, oh, I knew Bolivia was diverse because I'm Bolivian, but I didn't know it was that diverse. Now I want to travel all over the country. And that was really interesting. I felt they found an interesting identity that they did not know they had, but because they had, the opportunity to do. And then the second time I said, okay, let's talk about music and dances. And they learned so many things that they didn't know. I said, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the origin of that dance. So, but it took me, like the whole term to work on these videos because I had to help them, had like the best product possible. But they did all the research, they did all and their videos were amazing. So my goal for next year is to learn how to create videos as awesome as my students' videos, because mine are too simple. But theirs, like, they are definitely very professional and very cool. I don't know how they do that. And I said, and next time you are going to organize a workshop teaching me how to create videos. So yeah, that was also very interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I empathize with you on the teaching the YouTube TikTok generation, who are much better at making videos than we are.
Yeah.
But no, I also have, I also want to work on making better videos, because one of the other things I like about Flipgrid is modeling.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, and you can, and I love it because it's not just me standing up in front of class modeling one time and hoping and praying that they remember what I did. It's they can watch it as many times as they need to. So I like that. Now, Beatrice, I realize it's just me and you talking, but if you were to come to another one of these discussions, what would you want to talk about? What would be interesting to you?
I think I would say assessment. I've been having difficulties with assessment. So I would like to know a little bit more of successful practices they had. And the problem is that in the two institutions I work at, I don't know, all professors are I don't know, they panic, like they can copy paste their answers, they can get screenshots and whatever. And I said, let's change the things, let's try to change the things. But it was very difficult to make people change ideas. And it happened to me that this student, I don't know how, he had the questions, and of course he developed the answers for an important test. Like, I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So, and then when I talked to my boss, I said, I know he had the test, but I don't know how, I cannot prove it. So I need permission to find other ways to assess. But the government's regulation is students need to have a final test. They need to sit a final test. That's it. And then we cannot go against those regulations. So finding other ways to do that. Now, one interesting thing that I convinced my boss was like, well, we convinced, not only Beatriz, all the team said, let's give it a very low score to that exam. So students will need to work on other things. And she accepted it because, but she said, we're going to pilot it and let's see the results. So next term, we're going to do that. So assessment, definitely, it's a big deal.
It definitely is, and it's definitely a huge question mark, I think, in the whole community. I did something, but I'm not 100% sure that what I did was great. But it did seem to I did seem to catch people if they were cheating. So what I used Google Docs is what I did, and much the way that Dan showed how to use the Google Slides, I used Google Docs and made copies of the tests that way. And the cool thing about Google Slides or Google Docs is that when somebody else is in the room, other than I can go through just like I can with the slides, and I can see where they are and what they're doing, I can see if more than one person is working on that document. Up in it would be difficult for me to show you now without somebody else being
Yes, you can see the anonymous visitors.
Yeah, you can see the animals, right? So you can see if there's more than one person in there. And because I've caught people with more than one person in there. I've also, I have them do a lot of homework that way too. And if you go to share with all contributors, I think is the word that it uses, contributors, then anybody else who has worked on that assignment will show up. Or if they've sent it to anybody to get help, if anybody else has been on it, they will show up as a contributor. And so in that way, I've caught people cheating.
That sounds very interesting. I will try that. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. And thank you for coming. We have 2 minutes to the end. Is there, Maria, is there a thing you're supposed to do at the end?
So there is nobody else trying to get in. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I can, if you want, I can wrap things up.
Yeah.
So the host, so I'm going to say that thank you to everyone who's participated. And with that, we must conclude today's online program. Today's presentation was titled Pedagogy Potluck, and a special thank you to Deanie Good. And this concludes our program, and you may now disconnect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank
contributions, Beatrice. Thank you.
To you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for not leaving me alone in a room. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
You
I hope to see
too.
you next time.
Hopefully. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.